Hi, my name is Lindsay and I'm a senior at the College of Worcester, and I'm going to be talking about techniques to improve your emotional well-being. For me personally, I'd say I have a pretty good level of emotional well-being. It definitely wasn't something that used to come naturally to me, and it can be really difficult for some people to achieve. But I think with some hard work and energy, everyone can consciously choose to live a life of emotional well-being. So some ways that I like to tune in to how I'm feeling emotionally, which I think is the first step to emotional well-being, is being very present with your emotions, is based off of a couple theories of emotion processing I actually learned in one of my psychology classes. First off, one theory states that to feel an emotion, that it first starts within the sympathetic nervous system, or within something that might be like a body sensation, for instance, increased heartbeat, or maybe a pain in the body or something like that. That might be an indication that something is going on with you emotionally, and then after that you would then process the sensation in your head and label it as being an emotion. So, for instance, if I notice, I have a sinking feeling in my stomach, or my heart rate is increasing, I might evaluate that after as, oh, maybe I'm feeling anxious today, or oh, I'm really excited today. So that's one way to evaluate your emotions, is to pay attention to those physical body sensations. Something that might be feeling a little bit off or unusual, or that isn't necessarily normal. And then the second theory that I go by is the claim that emotions start with your thoughts, that, for instance, you might negatively evaluate a situation, and then after that, that would lead to the physical sensations, which we would term as an emotion. Or we might positively evaluate a situation, and then that would lead to the physical sensations that we would label as, happiness or excitement. So really monitoring your thoughts is key. So for instance, if I notice, oh, I've really been thinking a lot of negative thoughts today, that could clue me into thinking, oh, if this is the thought pattern that I'm having, maybe that means that I'm feeling depressed or down today, and then that helps me to figure out what's really going on with myself, even if it isn't readily apparent. So those are a couple things that can help you to tune into your emotions, I think. And there are some things that I like to do to bolster emotional wellness. For instance, one thing that I like to do is actually related to the whole monitoring your thought process thing. I really like to live a life of positivity as much as possible. And I don't mean necessarily monitoring your thoughts in the way where you feel like you can't express how you truly feel about a situation, because that's going to cause a lot of issues, which may actually lead to the reverse of emotional wellness. But it's a sense of using a reality principle, admitting how you really feel about a situation, but then at the same time consciously choosing to evaluate the situation in a more positive way. So that could be, choosing to just simply use language that's a more, stating a fact in a more positive way. So, for instance, if I'm worried about a test tomorrow and I'm not sure how it's going to happen, rather than just saying the really negative version, which might be, oh, I'm really nervous about this test tomorrow, I'm probably going to fail it, it's going to be terrible. Consciously choosing to change the words to a more positive version of that same thing, because a lot of times it's possible to reframe our words so that it's a more positive version of the same thing. So I might say, using the reality principle again, saying, oh, I'm kind of nervous about this test tomorrow, but at the same time I did prepare a lot and I've done as much as I can at this point, so we'll see what happens. That's a different way to think about it, which acknowledges how you feel, but at the same time it helps you to see some light in the situation. So I think that's a really important principle that we all need to take to heart. And then also, using personal mantras, that's something I like to use, your personal power phrase, something that helps you to feel motivated in times of stress. That could be also something that helps with emotional wellness. Some other things I like to do are, first off, exercising. That's always a big one. There's always meditation and yoga and deep breathing and all, some of that typical stuff. Can also be good ways to help with emotional wellness. But some other things that I would definitely suggest is, first off, making sure you surround yourself with positive people and positive relationships. People who really acknowledge your goals and dreams and believe in you and show their support for you. So, you don't want to be around negative people who maybe don't see the validity of what you want to do with your life. So finding those people who make you feel good about yourself and make a point to bring up the things that you do well and to congratulate you for what you do, I think that's huge. And then another thing on top of that I would really suggest is, finding something that you're passionate about to engage in. That could be a hobby or, maybe some sort of activity where you're giving back to someone, something where you're giving something but also getting something emotionally in return. That really helps with emotional wellness because it gives you a sense of purpose and contribution with your life. And then some other things that I would suggest on top of that is just finding ways to really be honest with yourself about a situation. I feel like a big source of issue in many people's life is holding on to a lot of past hurt or grudges or not being able to move on from sort of past feelings. So there are a couple of things I like to do with that are sort of visualization exercises that help me to move on and live in the present moment. So one of them is, for instance, I like to picture if there was someone, someone who was close to me, for instance, say like my best friend, I would picture being in a room with them but being in my best friend's body, staring back at myself and taking on the role of my best friend, taking in all the feelings that they would feel for me, all the positive things that they would have to say about me, and all the, knowing all the reasons that they like me, and, all the love that they would usually show me, and sitting face to face with myself and me acting as my best friend, giving myself advice, and being honest with myself. So that kind of takes away the sort of negative self-bias that we can have and the tendency to not show ourselves self-love. And then another thing that I like to do is, for instance, say you're holding on to a lot of negative feelings about a past situation that happened, like for instance, say you had some friends in the past who really hurt you, did some things behind your back, and you might currently have some trust issues. I like to also picture two versions of myself. I like to picture a younger version of myself and my present self, so it's like my past and present. And my past self might even be a child, someone who's just not as wise. So then I would picture my younger self kind of communicating the present concerns. If I was kind of afraid in the present that people were going to hurt me like they did in the past, then I would picture my past self showing those concerns and saying, what if this person hurts you again? Like, I think that we should avoid this person, just like showing their signs of fear. And then I would then picture my present self, who is now much wiser, talking back to this younger version of myself, directly opening up and offering words of, showing all the things that I have learned from, the past trauma, saying, well, since then I've learned this about people, and I've learned, this about people, and just sharing all the things that I've learned since that past incidents that happened, whatever it might have been. And then on top of that, then I would have the wiser version of myself telling that younger version, giving an oppositional sort of statement to every single fear that they addressed. So it's kind of like an integration of your past self with your present self, and if you really visualize it and like see what the younger version of yourself would look like versus you now, it's a really good way to integrate or to almost counter all your past negative feelings, and then to reintegrate everything you've now learned and the more positive feelings into your present identity. And it's a really good way to just to really connect with yourself. And I think that's also really important in emotional wellness, is feeling like you can connect with yourself, in the present moment. So being in the present moment is also something that is very important for emotional wellness. So I like to, as this kind of relates back to the language thing again, but I like to eliminate what ifs from my vocabulary. So not wondering, what would have happened if you had made a different decision, but really earnestly living in the present moment. So I know that was a lot of information, but there are a lot of things you can do to bolster your emotional wellness, simply from, consciously choosing to alter your language and to monitor your thoughts, or engaging in some sort of activity that you find passion in, surrounding yourself with positive people, and then those visualization exercises. I think that's definitely a way to start. It might be a long road ahead of you, but if you consciously choose emotional wellness, you can achieve it. You just have to set your mind to it. Thanks for listening.